Alright guys, it's Lmaster here, and it's time to talk StarCraft. Today we're going to be talking about Protoss versus Terran, and specifically what is a good build to do if you are a new player to the game, just starting out and you want to know what should I do as far as builds and strategy go. So the build I'm going to show today is a build that is generally quite safe. It will basically prevent you from being able to die to just about anything that your opponent can throw at you, but it won't put you in a horrible spot in the vast majority of situations. It's not going to get you ahead in most cases, but it's going to be safe, and it's going to allow you to get into the middle and late game in a reasonable spot. And so the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to build a pylon on 8 supply, and then we're going to follow it up with a gateway, a gas, a cybernetics core. We'll add a second gateway. And then we'll go from there. So here is going to be the pylon. That's going to be made at 8 supply, 8 out of 9. And during this entire time, you will want to produce workers constantly. There's no reason to stop producing workers. As a newer player, as a general rule of thumb, the only reason you should ever stop making workers is if you have a specific reason why you're doing that. If you know you're doing a build that cuts workers, or you have a reason that says, I know I need to cut workers for this reason, then it's okay not to make them. Otherwise, always make them until you have probably 70 to 80 workers is a good starting number to shoot for. So then we make a gateway on 10 supply, and then we will make our gas as soon as we have the amount of money. This will usually be 11, but sometimes it can be 12. Just don't cut probes. Like, make sure there's a probe making, and as long as you have a probe making, go ahead and make your gas when you have 100 minerals. And then following that, we will put down the Cybernetics Core. And that will usually be at 13 supply. Sometimes it can just bleed over to 14. And again, same thing, you don't want to stop making probes. As long as you're doing that, you are golden. And then we'll follow that Cybernetics Core up with a pylon. So here we go, it is 13 supply, 14 supply-ish. We'll make the core. Obviously, as soon as the gas is done, you always want to put 3 on gas. That is the standard rule. If the gas is above, if the gas is ever below or to the side, sometimes you might need 4. But 3 is fine here. And then at 15 supply, we will make our next pylon. And then at 20 supply, we will make our second gateway. So this build is kind of flexible in that if Terran is particularly greedy or goes for a fast expand, it allows you to put pressure on a bunker. And if Terran is aggressive, then you have a high Dragoon count, and you can easily defend whatever Terran is doing. The one exception to easily might be a well-executed 2-factory attack from Terran. Oh, and as soon as the core finishes and you have money, with your first 50 gas, you want to make a Dragoon. And then with your next 150 gas, you want to make range. And those two take priority before even the second gateway. So it's core, and then it's first Dragoon, range, then it's second gateway. Again, all the while making probes. Now, what you scout with your probe determines what you should do out of these gateways. If you scout an expansion, depending on just how early you scout it, you can either just go immediately stop making Dragoons and make a Nexus of your own, or you can keep making Dragoons and go for heavy pressure on the bunker to force Terran to pull SCVs and slow down his economy. It's up to you how you would prefer to play that, and depends a little bit on when you scout. Now, if you come to the ramp and you see just one Marine, or you get this, are pretty confident Terran is expanding very safely, then, or without a whole lot of Marines in a non-aggressive manner, then you can probably go ahead and expand off of 2 or 4 Dragoons. But if you get to the ramp, especially as a newer player, and you see 4 or more Marines, I would go ahead and make 6 Dragoons before expanding. This will put you a little bit behind economically, but it'll make you very safe. And you'll see that's what I'll do here, because I'm going to go up the ramp here. I'm going to take another look shortly, and I'm going to see that there's 6 or 7 Marines. So that means Terran could be aggressive, could be up to something behind this, and I want to make sure my Dragoon count is safe. And by the way, you make that second gateway at 20 supply. The next pylon should go at 21. You start it before you start your second Dragoon. So it's gateway, and then Cybernetics Core, gas, Cybernetics Core, and then pylon at 15, and then you'll make Dragoon and Dragoon range. Then you'll make that second gateway, and then right after that you'll make a pylon, and then you can make the second Dragoon, and then Goons 3 and 4 will finish in sequence. So I saw 7 Marines there, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys 6 Dragoons before expanding. So again, this you can be aggressive if Terran makes a mistake. You have that option. But if they're being reasonably aggressive themselves, then you'll have plenty of Dragoons to go ahead and defend. And so now I'll come down and I'll make that Nexus. Again, you don't want to cut probes. You don't want to stop pylons. But there goes that expansion. And then right after that expansion, if I get attacked and Terran were to come out, particularly if I see a lot of tanks or a lot of vultures, then I would probably produce 2 more goons. But as a general rule of thumb, after you make that Nexus, you're going to want to make your Robotics Facility. So that's what I'm going to do next. And the Robotics Facility is very useful because it's going to allow you to get out observers to see what Terran is doing. And also, if they are doing some sort of attack, you can get out a shuttle, which is very helpful for dropping zealots or occasionally Dragoons on tanks for defense. And then at this point, you won't have obs for a while, so you're going to have to guess. And unless you just are very confident Terran's being greedy, I would go ahead and make 2 more gateways. So this should be somewhere around 40 to 50 supply. Now, I wouldn't follow supply religiously at that point. Supply is only good for the beginning build orders. There could already have been skirmishes or other things that would mess that up. So there's no need to follow a rigid supply all the way to 30, 40, 50, 80 supply. But I would say basically as soon as you go ahead and Nexus, maybe make another round of Dragoons, and then you can go ahead and add 2 more gateways. And then from there, you'll want to expand to, you'll have a couple options. Once you add those 2 gateways, you kind of have 2 ways you can go, 3 ways maybe. One way is if you want to play with very fast tech, you could go straight, you could put a Citadel down and go straight into arbiter tech. The second option you could do is to just add gateways in some number and go for some sort of really aggressive gateway toss. It's a little bit all in. It's a little bit, it's like if Terran knows what you're doing, they can usually defend, but if they've been too greedy, you can sometimes punish them. And a lot of times you want to do that with a shuttle. So you'd make a shuttle, you'd have 4 to 8 gateways, and you'd go do some attack. And this is going to depend a little bit on what you scout or what you think Terran is doing. And then the final way to play is to just go ahead and make a 3rd base. That's probably the most quote-unquote standard, the most macro-oriented way to play. So you see I'm going to do that here. I'm going to go over and grab a 3rd base and just wait on my obs. And so you'll grab that 3rd base. And then you'll have to decide. Now, if you get there with your observer and you go inside Terran's base and you see a lot of factories going down, more than I would say 3, certainly if there's 5 or 6, then this is one time you'd want to cut probes. You'll want to add gateways, go to 7 or 8 gateways, cutting probes, start leg speed, don't tech any further, and just get out, focus on getting out units, mostly Dragoons, get a shuttle to bomb. And then when you get to half leg speed, then you can start making zealots. But as a general rule, against timing pushes, against 2 base pushes with a larger number of factories, a Dragoon heavy army works best. You just get a shuttle to bomb and you spread your goons and it'll fight much better than zealots. Now once you have a group or more of Dragoons out and you have zealot leg speed, then spamming nothing but zealots is great against timing attacks. So my observer is coming up here. I'm just going into my tech. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to see that, okay, there's a turret there. A lot of times you won't be able to get in, so you just got to go look and see if there's a gap. But I see, all right, there's another turret. Let's see what's going on here. I'm just kind of looking around the edges of the base, going to maybe see, do I see a command center in there? What is going on? So a lot of times Terrans will build command centers on the edge, but I see 2 more turrets and I'm thinking, okay, this guy has invested a lot of money. This is 4, 5, 6 turrets. He's basically made a ring. He doesn't want me getting in his base. So that means if he's going to do a timing attack, I'm probably a little bit safer from it because investing all that into turrets so fast means that he can't build his factories as quickly. He's lacking the minerals. But I'm still going to add a few gateways here because I don't know what he's doing. And I keep coming around here and I just see nothing. And a lot of times when Terrans build a really adamant turret ring like this, it can occasionally indicate a little bio rush. Now, if this guy was doing that, he's a little bit too late for it. But just in case he is, I actually opt to get leg speed and I go for a very fast storm here. Against other builds, you wouldn't necessarily need to rush storm. You'd probably just want to continue teching up to arbiters. But against a marine medic sort of attack, you would actually want to get storm. You probably won't see that very often, but I'm playing safely in case that's the case. And I just go ahead and add a lot of gateways here. Because he's on 2 bases, he's invested a lot of turrets. If he's taking a 3rd base, it's going to be late. I'll probably have a chance to bust it. If he's not taking a 3rd base, then he's going to be kind of having a weak timing attack. I've got 3 bases, so I'm fine here if I just mass up a lot of gateways. So I go ahead and mass up to 8 gateways, and then once I get a few Templar out and a few speed zealots out, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I know if he does any sort of timing attack, I have a reasonably fast third. My economy is way better. I'm producing out of 8 gateways. Nothing Terran can do off 2 base is going to threaten that too much, particularly with all those turrets and stuff like that. So then I'll just opt to take a 4th base and start kind of taking the other side of the map. And the fact he still doesn't have a 3rd is getting a little bit suspicious. We're getting pretty far into this game. If he was going to do any sort of 2-base attack, he would be out doing that by now. So I'm thinking, all right, what is going on here? Terran should have a 3rd base. He's either really bad or he's got a hidden base. So I'm going to start sending my observer around the map to look for a hidden base. And I would say that's something you should think about. If Terran doesn't seem to do anything and they're on 2 bases, you got to worry about hidden bases. I mean, even if they have 3, you can probably check, but 3 is normal. By 12 or 13 minutes, Terran should definitely have a 3rd base. If they don't, that's suspicious. I've also saw his SCV went out on the map earlier, and look at that. Lo and behold, there is a hidden base. So I'm going to immediately move my army up there to kill this. And one thing that's really important to notice is note the position of the second obs I have. One is at the Terran base at top right, the hidden one. But the other is outside the choke point that Terran would come out. And this is important because I'm sending my whole army because I want to make sure to kill this base off. I want to get most of the SCVs. But if Terran were to come out with an attack, I would need to hurry up and leave with my army, just leave a couple units behind to block that command center and come back to defend. Otherwise, I could get very, very out of position. So make sure you always have an ob spotting for when Terran comes out, but I can come over and kill this base. As I'm doing this, I'm just expanding. I'm continuing to tech. I'm adding a few forges. I've got 8 gateways. And then the main priority at this point in PvT becomes, like once you get close to max, make sure you don't max without having arbiter tech or Templar tech or both in your army. Maxing without either of those 2 techs, well, with just gateway units, will be a very weak army for a max Terran. You'll get rolled over almost every game. You need Storm, you need Stasis, or some combination of the 2 to be able to deal with Terran. But once you're close to max, you have a good base count. Then the most important thing to do with your money, with your time, with your actions, outside of fighting Terran, if Terran comes out, is to secure more bases and most importantly, get another gateway or another main, another base somewhere with a bunch of gateways in it and continue to add gateways in your own base. If you're maxed, you should go look to get 5-6 bases and you should look to get a minimum of 20 or 30 gateways. That is just absolutely essential. It gives you gateways at 2 mains, so if Terran attacks with his tanks and vultures, his mech army, he blocks off one of your bases. You're not just stuck in a base down a ramp you'll never get out of. And secondly, it just gives you a lot of production. You have a lot more money than Terran, so your advantage is you can take all that money and instantly remake your army. So you can see I'm maxed out now. He's still on 2 bases, so I wanted to max out fairly fast, just in case he's doing some sort of very bizarre thing on 2 bases where he's going to max out and just come out. So I wanted to make sure I had a max army before I started adding a bunch of gateways, but now I'm immediately sending a probe over to bottom left to take another main and add a bunch of gateways. He's still not doing anything. I'm going to go check for a 3rd base of his, see if he has one now. I'm also at the point where I don't really want to attack his 3rd base. It's very late. I don't have gateways up yet, so even with all my economy, if I did a fatal attack right now on his 3rd base, and he had a lot of defense there, and I lost almost everything, I could still lose the game, because we would probably have about the same amount of production, and Terran's army would be stronger, and I just wouldn't be able to rebuild my army fast enough, even though my economy is much better. But you can see, I do see there's a 3rd base now, and I'm going to at least go over and attack it, see about attacking it here, so I'm kind of splitting up my army. And then the main thing, again, is going to be watch what I focus on here during this attack. I'm starting to add gateways here. My money's already a little bit higher than I would have liked. This probe should have gotten there a bit earlier. It's not the end of the world, but I am starting to add those gateways. And now I'm sending my army in for an attack. And notice I'm not even really watching this attack that much. I gotta do a little bit with it here, but it's very important to keep adding the gateways at the other base. You know, I want to move my army in. I go back. I make sure to create units. That's one of the biggest mistakes beginners make, is they do an attack like this and they just watch the attack and they don't make any units and then they have nothing left. It's very important. Move your attack in, make units, and then go do other things once that attack is kind of set up. So here I'm making sure those gateways are going down even while I'm attacking. and then he leaves the game. And that's the gist of this PvT. So yeah, main things are go up to those 4 gates, decide how you want to play, aggressive toss with a bunch of gateways, greedy with a faster third, or go for fast tech off of 2 bases, and then commit to that style and base your play off of that. Hope this helps, and see you next time. And as always, if you guys found the video helpful, please smash that like button and subscribe.